Commission's Executive Director, Miss Maria Pangelinan, is standing by. Good morning, Miss Maria.
Half a day, Chris and Sabrina.
Half a day. How are you? It's
Long
been a
time.
while.
Haven't seen you since last year in the Zoom.
We're good, and we are busy.
And people would think that you're not busy because it's not an election year.
We're preparing our reports. We've got our voter registrar training going starting up next month or this month. We have to hurry up and get our voter registrars out there because we're down to 47,000 registered voters on Guam.
We're down to 47,000?
Yes, sir.
Is that low?
Yeah, we had to purge 8,000, I think 8,900 voters because they did not vote in the general general elections of 2018 and 2020.
Wow.
So we had to take their names off our list.
And then how do those people, well, I guess if they want to go vote, they just go register? Or do you guys notify them like, hey, we took you off the list for inactivity?
Yes. Actually, we notified them twice. We notified them in January before we purged them, and then we notified them again in February when we purged them.
Is that an unusually high number?
Absolutely.
Do you think that maybe some of these people didn't vote in 2018 because whatever, they didn't like the smell of the candidates, and then maybe didn't vote in 2020 because COVID?
Well, one of the things that we've discussed at the Guam Election Commission is that we've candidates, political parties have upped their game in registration and voter registration. And on top of all that, the highest rate of increase can be attributed to motor voter registration. And that's when somebody who wants to go renew their driver's license or get a driver's license or get a new or renew their Guam ID, they can also register to vote at the DMV. So we received maybe thousands from them. And so that upped our registration numbers, and proportionally to those that show up to vote, it's a little bit lower. But you'll see all that. Excuse me. You'll see all that in the election comparative analysis of 2020. That's the report that the Election Commission is currently working on to put out June 30th, where you'll see the statistics of what's going on, what happened in 2020.
Do you have, though, off the top of your head, how many people didn't, out of the registered voters who did not vote in 2020?
Are you ready, girl? It's about our voter. I think our voter turnout was like 30 to 40%, the lowest ever.
Wow. So if I was one of these senators who got elected, I would feel kind of down that I was elected by so few people.
Well, not to change the subject, but I'm wondering what the legislature will do with regard to early voting.
Yeah.
Right.
And
because we had for the general election, we had over 13,000 people show up for early voting. So we wonder if the senators will, what we're going to do about it for the 2022 and upcoming elections, because in the law books right now, if you want to vote early, you have to have an excuse.
Right. And so what you're basically implying is that maybe we should just do away with this having to have an excuse or a reason to vote early and just let the people vote early because...
And it seems like there's, the people want to vote early.
Yeah.
That's what it's looking like for the Guam Election Commission. I mean, 13,000 compared to in the past, just a little over 1,000 every election cycle.
And I know a lot of it was because, like, we voted early because of the pandemic, and we wanted to, you know, kind of not get it out of the way because we take it serious. But are you just thinking that even without COVID, without a pandemic, people just want to get in and cast their vote, and it really seems like it would be about making it convenient?
I think so, Chris. And also, you know, making it more convenient would up the voter participation.
Right. Ahead of the gubernatorial election, do you anticipate this happening? Have you been in conversation with any of our elected lawmakers about a measure like this?
Actually, we have a meeting set up with our oversight chair staff. So Senator Joseph Augustin's, who is our oversight chair, they reached out to us and asked us to meet. So we're going to meet this week, start talking about recommendations. With our election comparative analysis report that's due June 30th of every odd year, that comes by law with recommendations from the Guam Election Commission to upgrade and update the election code of Guam. So we've brought those forward. It seems difficult, and that's probably what it is, for bills to pass that contain, 21 chapters of revisions, or revisions for 21 chapters. So Senator Joe was talking about making it so that we do it in steps. They'll ask the Guam Election Commission to prioritize or put a timeline to the different sections of the code.
What about voter fraud? I know in the past we've had instances where the dead have risen to vote.
Chris, it's Easter, but our Guam cemeteries are still intact. We receive every month from the Department of Public Health and Social Services a death list. So we comb that death list and see which ones are registered to vote, and we take them off. So even in the purge list, we had I think October, November, December, and January deaths that we had to take out from the voter registry.
And you also have is there a deadline coming up, Ms. Maria, for financial disclosures?
Well, actually, for for the candidates that ran in 2020, those with deficits, they have to file with us every 3 months. Those with surpluses, they have to file with us every 6 months. Those with a deficit had a deadline of March 30th. And those with a surplus and deficit, because it's every 3 months, their deadline is around June. June 30th is a new deadline. So those are coming in. So, you and I have said that we feel like the election is just right around the corner. So what happens is, if these people with surpluses or deficits are going to run, then when they start collecting contributions or they start spending for 2022, within 10 days, they'll file an organizational report. So those supplemental reports will stop, and in comes the organizational report. So the organizational report is due from candidates within 10 working days of spending or collecting $250 or over. What
about the Lou and Josh fundraiser? Did they file anything on the fundraiser they had recently, or is that not due until before the primary next year?
Yes, so they filed an organizational report sometime back.
Right.
And I believe they wanted to amend it to, and so I believe the amendment was filed. And if the amendment was filed, then at that point, at that time of filing, they should have updated their financials.
What would they have to amend?
You know, I'm sorry?
What would they have to amend?
Kind of sounds like you're trying to tell us something there.
No, I'm not. So amendments may be required if you're going to change your treasurer, if you're going to change your bank account. That one is critical for the Guam Election Commission to supervise campaign finance. So if a candidate is going to change out their checking account, they're required to have a checking account if they're collecting contributions. So if that's going to be changed, the organizational report by law must include the checking account information. And so that would make an amendment of the organizational report required.
Okay, so we'll call down there later and see what they filed. I just wanted to touch real quick on this, the FEC letters to Congressman San Nicolas. There's just been a bunch. What's you guys' involvement in? Is there any, or because I know he files with you, with you guys being the state rep of like kind of the FEC. I know he files with you, but on the like enforcement or any side.
So the Federal Election Commission is in charge of campaign finance, or it takes over campaign finance for federal candidates, including our Congress, our delegate to Congress. The Guam Election Commission does have a hand in making sure that we accept or we receive a copy of what is filed with the Federal Election Commission. So we still have supervisory responsibility, even to the delegate to Congress. That is one of the immediate issues we want to address. The timing of the submission of election campaign finance reports. What happens is the organizational report can be turned in even as early as 4 years before the gubernatorial election. But the next campaign finance report from a gubernatorial team is only due for about 4 years later, 10 days before the primary. If there are any issues or any corrections that need to be made, the Guam Election Commission is not capable of handling the review of those reports right when they're submitted.
Right.
That's 10 days before the primary. That's the height of election preparation. So we have asked to change the timing of the submission, and we are asking to make it so that they can submit it in a timely manner that suits the candidate as well as the Guam Election Commission.
Right, yeah.
We have been fielding calls on how to handle campaign finance. We've been fielding calls since even late last year.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we would like to see possibly a quarterly submission of these reports. It helps the candidate because as Guam Election Commission reviews the reports and points out discrepancies that need to be corrected, then it won't happen again for the next quarterly report. That's one of the things we're looking at. It would mirror just the submission dates would mirror Federal Election Commission.
Right. I don't know whatever happened because I remember that, and this is because of the bunch of stories I did. You guys were doing a huge review of the campaign finance violations, and we never heard anything from it.
So, in the Guam Election Code,
I got it.
in
It's
chapters.
It remains confidential. I know. Miss Maria, we're
That's
up against
correct.
the top of the hour. Right on. Thank you for checking in, though. Appreciate it.
Hamzumasi, Zusmasi.
Okay.
care.
There's Miss Maria Pangelinan of the Guam Election Commission. It's 7:58. We're about to jump on KUAM TV this morning as we have switched it up a little bit and we're broadcasting on television, KUAM television. That's the best kind of television there is. The second half of the Link show, which will start very, very brief.